Hi everyone, welcome back to our channel. Today I wanted to film a video all about my C-section experience and postpartum recovery. I've had a lot of questions asking how recovery is going and overall how the experience was. And there was a lot of things that I didn't know, so I thought this could be really helpful. So I have a whole list of notes so that I don't forget any details and I can share with you the whole experience. So we'll just get into it. So obviously I did have to have a C-section. We have a whole video explaining why in a previous video called like our unexpected delivery. So if you want to go find out why I had to have a C-section, I'll link that video down below. I'm not going to get into that whole thing. But basically we found out we were having a C-section the day before having my baby Beckham. It was very unexpected. It was something we weren't prepared for at all. And I almost felt bad that I wasn't prepared for it. It's just something that never crossed my mind. I had a plan to go in and, do the whole thing naturally and give childbirth vaginally, and that did not happen. So it just caught us very off guard. We were nervous, we were scared, we were pretty prepared to have the baby, but just not in that way. We knew that it was the safest choice to get our baby here, but it just wasn't something we were prepared for at all. I also kind of felt disappointed and kind of sad in a way because I was actually looking forward to having him naturally. I know some of you think I'm crazy for saying that, but it's like I wanted to experience what my body was made to do and have contractions and, give birth to him, and I just wasn't able to. So I was kind of sad about it, and I really wanted to experience that. But we wanted to do whatever was safest to get him here, and that ended up being a C-section. Towards the end, I'll talk about a VBAC and my thoughts on that after having a C-section, but we'll get to that later. So we had our doctor's appointment on Monday the 16th, and then scheduled our C-section the next day. So I kind of want to start with the process of the C-section because I really didn't know a whole lot about it. I had not looked into it at all. So basically we scheduled the C-section and had to be at the hospital at 5:30 in the morning. And also if you watch our birth vlog, you'll see kind of like the whole process step by step, but I just wanted to kind of go over it and give more information that wasn't in that video and kind of go through it step by step. So anyways, we got to the hospital at 5:30, got checked in, and then we went to triage, which is where they hooked me up to my IV, got changed in the gown, drew my blood, did a pee drug test. What else did we do? They had the monitor on the baby, and you kind of just hang out in that room for a while until you are ready to go into surgery to have the baby. We got in our gowns. We were in triage. We were actually in triage longer than expected because someone had an emergency C-section and they went in right before us. So we were in triage for quite a while, just getting ready. But then after that, they took me back and I had to do the spinal block. So that actually wasn't as bad as I was anticipating it would be. I was very nervous. Logan couldn't be in the room with me at that time. I went into the operating room and there were just doctors and nurses everywhere. I was by myself. I was so nervous. They got me up onto the bed. We did the spinal block. It wasn't bad. It was like a little burn, like a little poke, a little pinch, and then it was over. It actually kind of took them a minute though. They told me that I had really strong back ligaments, and so they were kind of like poking around, and it took them a minute. The nurse that I had was so friendly and helpful and made me feel so much better. She stood in front of me. You're like really like bent over so that they can get to your back, and she's like, grab my hands, squeeze as hard as you need. I'm right here, let me know if you're okay. And so she was so helpful. She was the best. So I was grabbing her hands and just like holding as still as I could, and it was over. And after that, they're like, be prepared to lay down. This numbing is going to hit you very quickly. And as soon as I felt it go in my back, my feet kind of it started at my feet. They kind of got like warm and tingly, and I could kind of all of a sudden like barely move. I turned around and laid down, and then everyone just started moving like crazy. It was the weirdest thing. I was laying on the table and there were, like I said, like 10 people around me moving around, hooking me up to monitors, putting the screen up, The doctors were getting all their stuff ready. The anesthesiologists were right by me. It was like chaotic how much was going on around me. They told me that they were going to tie my hands down. So your arms are out like this. They told me they were going to tie my hands down because sometimes people have a reaction to reach down or like try to move when they're in the surgery, I guess. And I actually don't remember if my hands were tied, because you'll see in the delivery vlog, my hand reaches up and pulls the screen down to see the baby. And then when I'm crying, my hand is like on my mouth. So I don't remember my hands being tied down, but they did tell me they were going to do that. I just don't remember them actually being tied. So anyways, I'm laying there and it felt like forever. Logan still wasn't in the room. I would say it was probably like maybe 15 to 20 minutes before he could come in. Once he finally came in, I remember finally seeing him and like looking up. He walked in and my eyes just filled up with tears so quick because I was so relieved to see him. Oh my heck, it makes me emotional. Like, I was so happy and relieved to see him because I was so scared and I was by myself. I was just really relieved to see him. So once Logan got in there, they started working right away. They were opening me up, and honestly, it was the quickest thing ever. I think by the time the doctor like cut me open and they started going, they pulled the baby out. It couldn't have been like not even 5 minutes. I swear it was only like 3 minutes. They pulled the baby out and it was over. It was crazy how quick it was. And the part that was the weirdest, I didn't feel any pain, but when they're trying to take the baby out, they have to kind of like wiggle you around and move you. And that was so weird. It felt like someone was like pushing on my chest and like my belly right here as hard as they could. And in the video, you can see my body like being tugged on and I'm like moving around. That was kind of uncomfortable, but the actual like cutting open, I couldn't feel anything. You're totally numb. But that was weird. But it wasn't even like 5 minutes before they had the baby out, and that was it. So once they have the baby out, they take baby over, make sure he's okay. I told Logan, I was like, go with him, go make sure he's okay. And I am laying on the table getting stitched back up. As the doctor was stitching me back up, I felt like a pain in my collarbone area, and I think it was the anesthesiologist was like, are you okay? Are you feeling any pain? And I was like, I don't feel anything except for this pain in like my shoulder and collarbone. Our doctor heard me say that, and so he kind of like peeked around the screen and he was like, that's totally normal. I have your uterus out right now and some of the air is getting like trapped up into you, I guess. Super weird. I had no idea that was a thing that could happen. But I did feel that like as I was open on the table. Very weird. But after that, they stitched me back up. I got to see the baby for a second. And then they actually, this was another weird thing, you're totally numb, your bottom half. And so they had to kind of roll me onto a different bed to take me out of the operating room. So it was kind of weird. I could like just feel how heavy my legs were. And there were like 3 people lifting me onto a different bed to roll me kind of into like the recovery area. So that's where we went next, and that's where I finally got to hold the baby and kind of just waited for the numbness to go out of my legs and just to kind of keep me on monitors for a little bit after the operation. The numbness in my legs actually took quite a while until it was totally gone. They kept asking me to move my toes and I would try and nothing would happen. And so that's kind of a freaky feeling. It's like, is the feeling going to come back into my legs? That was really weird. But eventually it did. But I feel like it did take me probably like, I want to say an hour, because we were into our own room by then when I could finally like move my legs by myself. But after that, we were in our own room. We got to hang out with our baby. For I think the rest of the day, he went and had a bath. And I just laid in bed all day, and we were in the hospital for the next 2 days. So during those 2 days, they want you to try to get up and moving like when you can, as much as you can, to kind of make sure you are able to move, make sure you are able to go to the bathroom. I still had my IV in, I still had like compression socks on my legs to prevent blood clots. I had a monitor on my toe, I had the blood pressure wrap on, so I was still hooked up to a lot of things. But really, I did not get out of bed that often until maybe the second day. I tried to get up and go to the bathroom, and it is very hard to walk after you have that surgery. It's hard to sit up, you're very sore. I was on pain medication, but it was really tough, and it's hard to completely stand up. It's hard to sit up. It's hard to walk. It's very uncomfortable. And on top of all that, I still had that trapped air in my shoulder and collarbone that I talked about before. It was very uncomfortable. It felt like hard to breathe in my chest, and I felt like it was like kind of moving to my other shoulder as well. So it was very difficult. Of course, Logan was so much help and my nurses were amazing, but eventually I was able to get off all those monitors, and I had a catheter in as well. Eventually I got that out when I was able to go to the bathroom by myself. Getting into that a little bit, the first time you go to the bathroom after having a C-section, even just peeing is very hard and weird. You are actually bleeding out quite a bit. At the same time, you feel like you have to go to the bathroom, but I kind of had to like push my pee out, and it hurt to push, and it doesn't just like come out naturally like it usually does. It kind of hurt to just even go pee, so I kind of had to like push it out, and I was just able to get out like a little bit at a time. So it was very weird, but eventually it gets better. So in our birth vlogs, we have all of that footage of us at the hospital if you do want to go watch that, but I think I mainly covered everything at the hospital, just recovery wise. For me, yeah, I mean, you're sore, you're exhausted, and it's hard to move around. It's a major surgery that you're having, but so glad I had Logan. He was the best partner. He helped me with everything. He ordered us food, you know, he helped me to the bathroom multiple times, and he was just my rock. So he was amazing to have there. After our 2 days at the hospital, I felt like that was enough time at the hospital. I know some people stay more, but honestly, I think the 2 days was enough. The day we went home, I felt good enough to go home. So we brought the baby home. We have all of that video as well, and kind of got settled in. Logan helped me into bed. And I am not joking, within 10 minutes of getting home, I had a complete breakdown. I kind of talked about this a little bit in our Q&A video as new parents, but we got home and the baby started crying, so I was trying to feed him. He was still learning how to latch, and at the hospital he was actually latching on pretty well and he was doing really good. Then when we got home, he was just crying and screaming, and I was trying to feed him and he was getting so frustrated, which made him cry even more. And so Logan took him for a minute and was trying to calm him down, and I just like sat there feeling so helpless and like a failure because I couldn't be there to help my baby. I couldn't even stand up on my own. I got so emotional so quick. I started crying. I felt so bad, and I was thinking to myself, how am I going to take care of my brand new baby and get up with him during the night when I can't even sit up on my own? And it was like the most heartbreaking feeling. Not to mention, like, I had probably had maybe 5 to 10 hours of sleep the past 3 nights in a row. So I was exhausted. My hormones were everywhere. I was still in pain. But right as I'm having this breakdown, I'm in bed bawling, feeling horrible. And right as that's going on, my mother-in-law comes over to bring us dinner and to see the baby for a second. And Logan was like, she's kind of having a hard time right now. I don't know what to do. And so she marches in the bedroom and she's like, what you are feeling is completely normal. Like, you are exhausted. Logan and I will watch the baby. You need to get some sleep. And she kind of like talked me through it and made me feel so much better. But it was hard. I didn't want anyone seeing me like that. I didn't want to feel like that. I felt so bad, but it is what it is, you know. I was recovering and I was exhausted, emotional, and it was just a lot. So that was the first day of being home. So then as we get into the first week of being home, the first week of recovery is probably the hardest. You're still exhausted from being up with the baby every night and learning how to breastfeed, both you and the baby, which I will talk about in a little bit. You're still bleeding, and I still had that air trapped in my chest, so it was still hard to breathe, it was still hard to walk, and then it was overwhelming with family coming over. Uh-oh, I think he's waking up from his nap. We'll see if he goes back to sleep. But yeah, that first week was really rough. I did not feel like myself the first week. I could feel my hormones like going up and down like crazy. I don't want to say that I was depressed or like had anxiety, but I could see why that is such a common thing. And it should be talked about more because it is such a common thing and it's nothing to be ashamed of. And I think people go through it more than we know. It's really scary. I feel like it's very easy to dip into. Like, I didn't talk a whole lot. I didn't talk to Logan. I don't even know how to explain it. It was so weird. I just remember like looking at myself in the mirror every day and just like being in pajamas all day, not getting ready at all, like all day, and could barely do anything for myself, which isn't like me. I'm a pretty independent person, and so it was just hard for me to rely on other people and to rely on Logan so much, and just to still be in pain, still be so tired. There was a few times Logan tried to talk to me and be like, are you okay? Like, what can I do for you? Like, how are you feeling? So he knew that was going to be a thing that we might encounter. I didn't want to open up to him because I knew I would have another breakdown. It was very hard to open up about that, and I just didn't feel like myself. I know I wasn't depressed, but it was hard not leaving the house and just feeling like a completely different person, and then you feel guilty and you feel bad, but it's all part of the process. It's nothing to feel bad about, but definitely talk to someone if you're feeling like that and get help. After that first week, I felt much better. I started feeling like myself again, but I mean, there were days that were still really hard, but it did get better. So after that first week, I think I was off my pain medication. I think I was actually off the pain medication a few days after getting home. I was just on ibuprofen, which helped, but then after that, I was completely off any pain medication and was feeling a lot better. I was able to get up and walk more. I was sitting up a little bit better, but it still hurts. You can't really use those muscles, and your incision is very, very sore. I was still bleeding. I think I bled about maybe a little over 2 weeks straight, and then after that it was kind of just more fluid coming out, but the bleeding stopped after a little after 2 weeks. Another thing I want to bring up is breastfeeding and that experience, how that's been going. My milk fully came in, I think it was the night we got home, and I woke up and felt like I had 50-pound rocks in my boobs. I'm not even joking. I couldn't even like move to the side without them feeling like huge boulders. Hurt so bad. They were so tight. I could feel it like up into my armpit. It's a very uncomfortable feeling, and my boobs were rock hard, leaking already, and I was like, holy crap. Beckham had a really good latch right from the beginning, but it does take some time to learn for both of you. And something that helped us a lot, when he was able to latch, he would get very frustrated and cry. Something that helped us was the hospital gave us these little like sugar water droppers. And what I did when he was trying to find my nipple to eat, I would drop some of that sugar water on there, just like a few drops, so that he would feel that liquid and it would encourage him to suck and latch on. So that helped us a lot. We did that probably like the first, maybe like up to a week. And then after that, he got it on his own every time. So we have just been breastfeeding. It is very time consuming. It's also really funny because my boobs are totally lopsided. My left is much bigger. She's the producer. My right one, she's the lazy one. And we're trying to boost her up a little bit. So I try to feed him a little bit more on the right side, but then the left, it gets like huge and hurts. So he has to eat on the left side more or else I'll explode. I don't have a breast pump yet. I need to get one ordered. But anyways, it's kind of funny like watching your body change so much. Luckily, it's been a really good journey with us so far. He's gaining really good weight. He's getting a chubby little face and I love it. So it's going really good for us. I was also going to talk about my scar and incision area a little bit. Hi, Murph. You want to say hi? Murph wants to say hi. Hi, buddy. He's a good boy. So anyways, my incision area is about 6 inches long. It's been super tender and sore, like even around the area. They do it pretty low though, like it's definitely below your regular like panty line. I don't know if I had actual stitches like inside. Like I don't know if my uterus is actually stitched up with the dissolvable stitches, but my actual incision right here just kind of had that like skin glue stuff. Okay, you need to go away. Bye, love you. See you later. It's still a little bit tender around there sometimes, but it's not bad at all. You can honestly barely see the scar. Definitely not a big deal. Nothing to worry about. I know some people don't want that C-section scar and they worry about that. Now Murphy has his squeaker toy. But it's really not bad. I mean, no one will ever see it. It's super low, so it's not a big deal. Now that we are almost to 6 weeks postpartum, I am feeling basically back to 100%. I'm feeling much more like myself. I feel happier. I have more energy. We've kind of got a good schedule going. It's gotten so much better. My body has recovered really well, and honestly, I felt basically back to 100% probably after like the 2nd week. I was like, okay, like I'm good, feeling a lot better. C-section recovery is definitely rough, but he is so worth it. I can't compare C-section recovery to regular recovery because I haven't experienced that. That does kind of lead me into having a VBAC for my next pregnancy. And if you don't know what that is, it's just a vaginal birth after C-section, after having a C-section. If I am able to, the next pregnancy, if we don't have any complications and everything goes really smooth, I would like to try for a normal birth. That's just my take on it right now, but we'll see when we get there. But I want to experience having a normal delivery, at least with one of my kids, and if I am able to the next time I'm pregnant, then I'm definitely going to try to, but we will see. So I feel like I've kind of gone over everything that I wanted to talk about. You guys see this little nose? It's Walker. Hi, buddy. But definitely, if you have any other questions that I might have left out or any other questions you had, definitely leave them in the comments or send me a DM on Instagram. I'm pretty good about answering on both. And also go watch the Q&A that Logan did. We kind of did like a Q&A life as new parents, and we answered a lot of questions over on that video as well, so I'll have that linked below. But thank you for watching. I hope that this video helped those of you that might have to have a C-section or are concerned about having a C-section. I know the word can sound so scary and sometimes it's not what we plan, but honestly it's not as bad as you think. Anyways, I hope this helped you guys and gave you some more information about it. I am happy to answer any other questions you have about it, but I just wanted to share my experience and what I went through and maybe ease some of your guys' minds. Anyways, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.